Welcome everyone to another edition of the Bad Deck Monday Highlight Reel. I am Puka and I'm going to be bringing you the top 5 plays from Bad Deck Monday. Now I did not do one last week, so we're actually going to combine these 2 weeks together to get the 5 best moments. There actually weren't too many exciting ones beyond this one, so it worked out kind of well. These 5 are good ones though, so I'm pretty pumped to bring you guys the top 5 moments from Bad Deck Monday. Let's jump right into it with number 5. At number 5, I'm back with my Quadza deck, just full-rate Quadza EX, but the twist is Hooligans, and here we go. My opponent has 3 cards, and now he's got 0. So I'm going to take away his supporter, a switch, and an energy, and then just go from there. I took the early lead, and then Hooligans let me keep it. Got to get rid of his entire hand, just 3 cards gone, knock out his Pokemon, leaving him with nothing but 2 electrics, and a 0-card hand. This is the power of Hooligans, and I get another one out of my prize to boot. Unfortunately, my opponent does top deck a supporter, so he gets out of it. But remember, I have that second Hooligans, so I'm going to play it again, and just like that, there goes your hand, buddy. Hooligans, they don't like you having cards in your hand. And you can see that here. Once again, put my opponent at a 0-card hand. Makes a strategy just as simple as full-rate Quadza pretty powerful. You know, when you got a big EX Pokemon just barreling down on you and you don't have any cards in your hand, turns out this works pretty well. So Hooligans leading the charge. My opponent draws another supporter off the top, which makes this even more ridiculous. Every time I put him at 0 cards, he top decks a supporter. But from there, it's just too late, and we get a 6-0 victory with nothing but Rayquaza EX. Thank you, Hooligans, Jim and Cass, for making this possible. And Rayquaza will take the number 5 spot here. Clean sweep with double trouble. 2 Hooligans leading the way. At number 4, I'm using my Litigant Victini deck. Just aims to paralyze my opponent repeatedly. But I'm on the ropes against a Garchomp Terrakion deck. Things aren't really going my way. Until I kind of take a look and realize, oh, he's used 1, 2, 3, 4 switches. So I might be able to win just by kind of paralyzing him every turn and decking him out. So I just start to use Bemusing Aroma, Paralyze, and Poison. I don't know if I'll actually be able to take all 6 prizes because Litigant is pretty fragile. He only has 98 points. You get plus 20 from Giant Cape, which is my strategy, but that's about all I can do. And then, you know, some max potions here and there, some Bemusing Aromas, and all of a sudden my opponent is very low on cards. So he does knock out all my Victinis, making it more difficult to keep him paralyzed, but if you take a look, now he's got 0 cards left in his deck. So, just by using Pokemon catchers, Bemusing Aromas, max potions, just keeping my Pokemon alive as long as possible, and just buying time, I was able to deck my opponent out with a deck that really shouldn't work, and a deck that really doesn't do much damage at all. So I just kind of shifted strategies to try to deck him out, and what do you know? It actually worked. So at number 4, Litigant locked my opponent out of the game until he couldn't draw cards anymore. At number 3, I'm using my Swipe deck that uses Honchkrow and Hooligans to disrupt my opponent's hand, and turn 1, look at that. Hooligans, Jim, and Cass coming to the rescue, facing an Empoleon Excelgor deck, and I take away pretty much his hand the first turn. Eventually he top decks a Juniper, but the disruption was felt. And eventually, you know, he starts to get set up a little bit, but the constant harassment from Diving Swipe from Honchkrow and another Hooligans just keeps him in check the entire game, disrupts him, makes it pretty much impossible for him to get everything he needs, to get that deck and cover every turn that Empoleon Excelgor desperately wants. So you can see what a little hand disruption here and there can do to somebody. The Hooligans messes with someone's hand, Honchkrow discards some crucial resources, and then all of a sudden they can't pull off the strategy they need. And that's exactly what happened here. Diving Swipe's going to take out his last Empoleon, and go figure, Honchkrow is actually going to be a threat at this point to attack and knock things out, even though it only does 70 damage. The damage you can do to your hand is just unmatched. So we have a diving swipe for the last knockout. Somehow I am able to disrupt an Empoleon Excelgor deck. A deck that's known for just being consistent once the Empoleons come out. I was able to take them out of play, discard some resources. Hooligans came to my aid again, and the swipe deck was able to take down Empoleon. At number 2, we have my extremely silly Ambipom Jumpluff deck that just aims to use Jumpluff's Leave It to the Wind for one massive turn where you return a bunch of Jumpluffs to your hand and then use Ambipom's Hand Fling to do a ton of damage. So my opponent feels he's on top of the world, shoves up a Darkrai, starts Night Spearing, probably thinks the game's over, and then, oops, I just returned 3 Jumpluffs to my hand, and I have about 20 cards. So I'm just gonna triple count my cards to make sure I am not miscounting, and then say, hey, Hand Fling for 180 damage. I have 18 cards in my hand. Now normally you would lose at this point because your opponent would play an N, but my opponent didn't, so I got to keep using Hand Fling. So here's a Kyogre EX now, and he will be taken down by a Hand Fling. I still have a ton of cards in my hand. I'm just going to play down a couple more Hoppips and Jumpluffs just in case I get End or something, so that I can evolve them later. Use Leave It to the Wind to fill up my hand again. There's another Hand Fling for 170 damage, so I'm knocking out EXs in one hit with Hand Fling. And then an Umbreon comes up that gets smashed for 130 damage. I still have 15 cards in my hand, and then, you know, for the last prize, my opponent still hasn't disrupted my hand, so I have to do as much damage as possible. Return 3 more Jumpluffs to my hand. The game almost freezes because I have too many cards in my hand, and I Hand Fling for 250 damage. What? The game actually started going super slow and almost crashed because I had too many cards in my hand. So, Leave It to the Wind and Hand Fling, good combo, coming in at number 2. And finally, the number 1 moment from Bad Deck Monday, I'm using my ridiculous flipped deck where I just use all sorts of Pokemon with stupid flipping attacks, and if you get double heads, they do massive amounts of damage. So we're going to start off with V-Blast for 100 damage on the first turn, and by the way, this is against the world champion Igor Kostya. So this makes this game even more entertaining. I'm using the Flips deck against the current world champion. Turn 1, V-Blast, 2 heads. Turn 2, another V-Blast for 2 heads. And I'm knocking out a Rayquaza EX on the second turn with V-Blast. That's 4 for 4 on my V-Blast flips. So if that weren't ridiculous enough, this game continues. And, you know, turn 2 I've already taken 2 prizes just by using a simple attack for 1 energy. But you know, the game goes on, stuff happens, he's trying to stall, he catches out my Chansey, but I think we all know from the past that Chansey is the biggest threat of all. In a previous highlight reel, I showed it hitting 6 heads on Continuous Tumble, so Igor should know better. I flipped tails on the first one, but we get to reflip the Victory Star, and just like that, Continuous Tumble, knocking out a Tynamo. So that's 3 turns, 3 prizes. If we keep flipping heads, we can't be stopped. Eventually, Igor says enough is enough. He Volt Bolts my Victini. He said no more reflips for you, but I just get another one into play. And I go for a Doom Decree on the Raikou EX. Get 1 tails, and then boom, 2 more heads. Are you kidding me? Another double heads. I knock out a Raikou EX with Doom Decree. 1 prize away from beating the world champion with nothing but coin flips. And then on the final turn, he has nothing but a Tynamo. I have to choose which flipping attack do I want to use to finish this game off. I decide to go for a double slap, copying Gothita's attack. If I get 2 heads, I'll win, and what do you know? 2 heads, double slap for the game. I don't know how many heads I flipped in that game, but it was a little ridiculous. But that's just what the Flips deck is. I mean, you live and die by the coin. This game, we definitely lived. He only took 1 prize against a Mew EX, Victini, Chansey, Gothitelle, Doom Decree deck. However, the following week, Igor would get his rematch, and he was barreling down on me early on with the Registeel EX. Triple Laser was just demolishing my board. There's nothing I could really do about it in the early game. I try to go at him with a V-Blast with Victini, but the Eviolite still makes it a 3-hit knockout. I get 2 heads on the first V-Blast, so I do 80 damage. But you know what? From there, I know what I gotta do. It's all up to Gothitelle. He's gonna triple laser me again, and I just can't let this keep happening. I have to make my move. I draw another energy, and it's time to Doom Decree. Even though I don't have a Victini in play, I gotta go for it. It's my only shot at winning. So here comes Gothitelle. Doom Decree, we need 2 heads to stay in this game, folks. If I don't, it's pretty much over. And here we go. Doom Decree. Boom, double heads. Instant knockout on that Registeel. So we're still in this game. He's got to take 3 more prizes. He's got a Mewtwo out there. That can get knocked out by a V-Blast. And right now Igor is having flashbacks to the previous game. Uh-oh. Is Doom Decree going to get him again? Unfortunately, Mewtwo does do a lot of damage to Gothitelle. So he's going to X-Ball for 200. And all I can do from here is send up Victini, V-Blast. I still don't have my Victory Star Victini out, but I just gotta cross my fingers, hope for 2 heads. And oh my god, another V-Blast, double heads. So we've taken out 2 EXs in a row, down to 2 prizes. If he whiffs an energy this turn, I can actually V-Blast his last Mewtwo for the game. What an epic comeback this would be. More flips going my way. Does he have the final energy to win the game? If he doesn't, I get 1 more shot. But it looks like Igor does get an energy. He gets his revenge. And the world champ takes me down in a very close but exciting match. And X-Ball takes down poor Victini. If I had 1 more shot, maybe I could have flipped 2 more heads and taken down his Mewtwo as well. But he took the game down. Props to him for withstanding the massive flip barrage. But that was some fun. Alright guys, that's going to wrap up this week's version of the highlight reel. Hope you had some fun watching these great moments happen. From hooligans to flips, it's all good. So, as usual, please leave me some feedback. Let me know what I can improve on, what I'm doing right, what I should keep doing. Otherwise, thank you as always for watching. We'll have some more highlights coming up next week from Bad Deck Monday. Remember, Bad Deck Monday is every Monday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on our stream, twitch.tv/thetopcut. So if you want to watch this live, go ahead and tune in then. Until then, thanks for watching, guys. I am Puka. This has been the highlight reel, and I'll see you guys next time.